this last winter after starting this podcast. We made pretty good buddies with Leonard. In our second episode, we asked Leonard, we're thinking about, we really enjoyed interviewing you, and we'd like to do this more often with other people and maybe turn it into like a podcast, like a monthly deal. And as we asked that, I think Dan asked that, and I kind of added on to whatever he was saying when he was asking the question. But I was actually expecting Leonard to say, you should leave that to the pros. No, I really was. I wouldn't have been offended. But the fact that he said kudos to you guys was huge. Like, he was the deciding factor in me doing this, at least. I would have gladly just not done it if he would have said, no, I'll leave it to the pros or something of that nature. So I thank Leonard for so much that he's done for me. And the last thing I was going to say is I called Leonard. We've developed sort of a friendship as much as you can without actually, meeting somebody in person.
We're working on it, though.
Conference, what up? So I even called Leonard like right after my daughter was born this last winter, maybe like an hour after she was born. So, I feel like if I could pick an older brother, Leonard Ulrich would be like my choice for an older brother. Just putting that out there. The other thing I was going to say is Leonard has hired me as his composer for his next film. I'm doing all the score and compositions for the background music while he's narrating over it. So I'm working on it. I'm a pretty good ways into it.
It sounds awesome. I'm just saying, it sounds really good.
And I didn't expect for him to even give me a chance at it. And it's only because of God, because I've never composed score. I'm looking back now, and all of my musical experience has trained me for this moment. And I listen to him and Rob Skeeb and people say that. Like, I'm seeing that every day more and more. The reason God put me in all those situations and allowed me to learn those things. And without any of them, I wouldn't be who I am. And I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing for God now. So I'm very, very interested. And I'm not against anybody making secular music, even if you're Christian. But I've spent too much time wasting on myself in the past, making secular music and not doing a single thing for God. And I'm done. I'm not saying I'll never write another silly song or love song for my wife or something, but I really want to take this seriously and do what God intended me to do for him. And I know that he gave me this gift for a reason. So to sum it up, I just thank God for everything that he's given me, this ability. And I want to leave you with this. I'll just leave you with Kent Hovind. I get to quote Kent Hovind for once. These words just like pierced me from one of his spiels on the New World Order, I think it was. And he said, what on earth are you doing for heaven's sake?
All right, and we're back. So, guys, Sam's story in its entirety up until this modern day, it was really good. I do have to say, yes, we had the little breakout section in there. I did fall asleep on Sam. I feel really bad about it, and even though he doesn't want to admit it, I know that it hurt him, so I'm sorry. But yeah, it wasn't Sam's story at all. Just to reiterate again, it's been a really long couple days, and I was tired, and I pooped out. But you know what? I think it was God's timing, because we had a really great rest of the interview when we picked it up. We actually split it into 2 different recording times. So it worked out great. Anyway, okay, so let's talk a little bit about Sam's story here. He's really into music, if you guys didn't catch on. And he knows so much more about it than he has forgotten more about it than I will ever know in my life. Let's put it that way. But that's a good thing. I like to encourage Sam. And one day, Sam is going to do, hopefully, a little something, if not more than a little something, with the help of a couple of the researchers, maybe, about music and the occult practices and its influence on music as a whole, which I would find really interesting because I listen to and watch a lot of like the modern mainstream music videos coming out. If you've ever read or seen Rob Skiba's Archon Invasion video or read his book, he talks about some of that stuff, talks about Katy Perry, E.T. Once you start looking at it with modern music and media, just in general, with these eyes, you start going, oh my goodness, holy cow, it is everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere. All right, so anyway, I look forward to that from Sam. We did mention it in the interview, but I just want to plug it again. Sam is actually doing the soundtrack for Leonard Ulrich's second film. And for Sam, yeah, I don't know if you guys picked up on this. Leonard's kind of a big deal to Sam. He really values Leonard's opinion. Leonard's film play was the pivotal point for Sam in this whole thing. And, a year ago, it was all Sam and I could ever have hoped for, just to be able to talk to the guy for one time. And now he's really become a friend and such a blessing. And Sam is super stoked. It's like doing the soundtrack to his favorite film. Actually, it is his favorite film at this point in time in his life. So he is super stoked for that. And you guys will get to enjoy that. I'm not sure when Leonard's release is, but I believe it's coming up soon. And I'm not going to say any more than that. So, all right. Back to Sam. One thing I want to hit on that is a little bit of a kind of an interesting coincidence. Of course, we know there's no such thing as coincidence, as God is sovereign. But when Sam went deaf when he was a little kid, I didn't know that. He got a temperature of like 105 and he lost hearing for like a week. That's pretty, you think about how that happened and how Sam's this musician and he's got such a good ear for music. And by the way, Sam is not a technical musician. He doesn't read music. Okay, he plays what he feels and what he hears, which to me is absolutely stunning and amazing. I only know one other guy like that when I was growing up. He was the same way with the piano and just brilliant. Both Sam and this other guy that I know. It's amazing. He can do so. That's really is a gift and a talent from God. But I think it's kind of interesting that Sam lost his hearing and now he's a musician and does all these different things. One other thing that actually is kind of personal for me is Sam's uncle here at the campground. He's the owner of the campground that Sam and I work at. Sam mentioned that when he was a very young child, almost 30 years ago now, that his uncle gave his parents a hand up. He got him a job, moved him out to Illinois where they ended up living for most of Sam's life, and really helped them out. Well, it's interesting because almost like 25 years later, Sam's uncle does the same thing again for Sam and his wife, Mandy. That was really cool. And then I know Sam will probably like blush when he hears this because he's going to edit this. But last year, Sam and his wife, Mandy, and his aunt and uncle really gave my wife and I, Elizabeth and I, a hand up. I had been, as I mentioned in my story, really sick, and then God brought us to this job. And now Sam's uncle is actually expanding an apartment for my wife and I to live in. But yeah, no, so it's really neat how God has provided through Sam's uncle. I really appreciate it. He's a very, very generous man. But to say something about that in Scripture, I believe there's a proverb that says something about God blesses and gives wealth to the generous. Sam's uncle definitely has the character to handle money, and he handles quite a bit of it. And he does well with it and blesses others with it. So I appreciate that. All right. Which that actually does transition into, by the way, the reason Sam and I do not take donations for God's Property Radio at this time. And that's not to say that, maybe someday in the future we'll reach a point where, we will need help. But at this point in time, we really feel and are capable of providing for the expenses of GPR and the different projects Sam and I are pursuing. And we do that because God has blessed both of us so richly in so many different ways. Sam's uncle being one of them, a big one of them. And we feel that, we want to do the same thing. So instead of being like, hey, guys, if you want to click that donation tab, and give to us, instead we'd like you to click that donation tab, but we want you to give to, Leonard Ulrich or Canary Cry Radio or Rob Skiba Seed the Series. And, I'm excited for all three of those. Leonard Stilm's going to be here first. I really want to see Seed the Series because I'm a huge sci-fi buff. And Canary Cry too, just to have them keep going. So it's kind of a toss-up. I know if you listen to all this stuff, you're kind of like, wow, I want to get involved with all of them. But, I would say pray about it and let God lead you to which one he would have you help out there. So also, I want to let you guys know about our upcoming episode for next month. Actually, before I do, there's one more thing I want to talk about with Sam's story. Do you guys remember the part when we go back to where Sam was talking about how he went to work and it was the first time in quite a while that he'd gotten stoned, and then his mom cornered him for lunch and he sat down with Mandy, his wife, and it really, it was kind of a breaking point for Sam because he saw the hurt that was in her eyes. But then later on he talked about how she forgave him for that. And she also forgave him for the promiscuous lifestyle that he had and the consequences for that later on in the story. And just to kind of tie back to mine real quick, my story, I talked about bringing things into the light, exposing sin, exposing the problem. Guys, a big part of that is receiving forgiveness from people. And like Sam said, after he saw the hurt in Mandy's face, even Sam's actions were exposed to the light. It was exposed to Mandy. And it lost its grip on him, and he was just like he was done, and he hasn't done it since. And that's that's really powerful. So just again, guys, I just want to say, if you're struggling with anything in particular, just confess it to the people that you're sinning against, and confess it to God. Bring it to Him, bring it to the light, and He will set you free. It may be, it may be a journey. In Sam's case, God gave the grace for it to be a quick thing. In my case with pornography, it's a constant everyday fight for me, but it's worth it. So I just wanted to throw that in there. I really appreciated that part of Sam's story. And knowing Sam and Mandy now for almost a year and a half, it's really cool to know them. God has definitely blessed me with a friendship from Sam and Mandy. I value both of them, but Mandy's been great for my wife, and I've really appreciated Sam. When I moved here, I didn't have anyone my age, didn't really have anyone to connect to other than the associate pastor at our church, but he was always so busy, and Sam and I are more on the same page with a lot of stuff. So anyway, I really appreciate Sam and being able to do this ministry with him and having him as a boss and working with him. So, all right. Now, next month, let's move on here. Next month, folks, the one, the only, the long-awaited Russ Dizdar. Now, at this time when I'm recording this, we've already interviewed Russ. It was amazing. I will say also, it was almost 3 hours, if not more than that, with Russ Dizdar, and it was great. And I want to go in and talk about it, but I'm going to save it. I'm going to wait because it'll be more fun when Sam is here to talk about it. So Russ Dizdar was coming up. We're working on the November episode. We had an idea of who we thought were going to do it, and that may still work out, but we're not going to say at this point in time for sure. God will bring the right person along or topic for us to discuss.